Good evening, everyone. We have gathered here today to express our sincere condolences on the sad demise of Sri Anant Kapadiya, who was a prominent Indian community member and chairman of Indian Business and Professional Council, IBPC Kuwait. Sri Anant Kapadiya has left a legacy in Indo-Kuwaiti cultural milieu. In many aspects, he played a crucial role in improving Indo-Kuwaiti cultural relationship by bringing Indian artists to Kuwaiti institutions like Dar al-Athar al-Islamiyya and National Council for Culture, Arts and Letters. He also played a major role in fostering and strengthening the long Indo-Kuwaiti business ties. Indeed, it is a great loss for all of us, especially for his family, colleagues and friends who were his core support and strength. As we say, a person that departs from this earth never truly lives, for he is still alive in our hearts and minds. With these words, I would like to invite His Excellency Sri C.B. George, Ambassador of India to Kuwait, to express his condolences.
Distinguished guests, members of IBPC, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. In February this year, most of us assembled here in this auditorium to bid farewell to Sri Anant Kapadiya ji, who was leaving Kuwait for good after 45 years of stay here. That farewell function was to celebrate the life of a great Pravasi who lived his life in Kuwait with a deep passion to promote India in Kuwait. At that time, none of us who were attending that function ever thought that we have to assemble here again within such a short time, within a few months, to bid our dear friend a final goodbye. On behalf of the embassy and the Indian community in Kuwait, I extend my sincere and heartfelt condolences to his family and his many friends. Dear friends, most of you have several decades of interaction with Sri Kapadiya ji and his family. For most of you, he was a close friend, and for some of you, he was a very loving elder brother, a member of their extended family. For many in the community, he was a mentor and much more. Compared to most of you, I had very short period of personal interaction with Sri Kapadiya ji. Despite it being a very short period, and despite it being in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic, I had the opportunity to interact very closely with him. I recall some of the one-on-one meetings that we had when he shared very useful insights with me on Kuwait, particularly on its business and cultural contacts. And he remained in contact with me personally even after his leaving Kuwait for good. Frankly speaking, he was someone with whom one could always have a long, engaging conversation and actually learn more about the country and the people in each of his conversations. Dear friends, despite his failing health, he continued to contribute immensely in promoting India-Kuwait relations, both in the economic and in the cultural spheres, till the last day of his stay in Kuwait. As chairman of India Business and Professional Council, he worked very closely with the embassy. He also made exceptional contributions to the cause of Indian music and culture, including by introducing some of India's top cultural and artistic personalities in Kuwait. Each of the events that he organized, whether it is business events or cultural events, these set a new high standard for the Indian community in Kuwait. His presence will be missed by the Indian diaspora in Kuwait. He will be remembered by the community for his services, particularly for the promotion of Indian culture and art in Kuwait. May I request you all to stand and observe 1 minute silence in memory of late Sri Anant Kapadiya ji. Thank you. May his soul rest in peace.
Thank you, sir, for your message. May I now invite Srimati Chaitali Roy to conduct the rest of the condolence meeting. Thank you.
Good evening, friends. Thank you for being with us here today, both in person and virtually, for the condolence meeting of Mr. Anant Kapadiya, Chairman of IBPC and Cultural Ambassador of Indians in Kuwait. It feels strange and unreal that only a few months back, as His Excellency mentioned a short while ago, I was here in this auditorium paying a tribute to his life and contributions, but I suppose that's how unpredictable life is. At the very beginning, I would like to request all the speakers who are here today to keep their speeches limited to 2 to 3 minutes. There are many of us who would like to pay the tributes, and keeping it brief and simple will give everyone a chance to say their bit. Thank you very much. So I'd like to invite Mr. Choji Lamba, Acting Chairman of IBPC. Mr. Lamba and his wife, Raji, shared a very long and personal relationship with Mr. Kapadiya. Together, they put together many events and shows that IBPC and Indians in Kuwait will be very proud of.
Hi, good evening, friends. Chaitali, thank you for the starting the proceedings. Many thanks to the Ambassador of India, His Excellency Sri Shibi George, from all of us of the Indian community to conduct today's events at the Indian Embassy premises. We have among us some reputed dignitaries, some dear friends, some very good well-wishers of Anant Kapadiya sahab. Thank you for taking out the time this evening. We are gathered here today to do our final farewell to our dearest and beloved friend, Mr. Anant Kapadiya. Even more so to honor him and live his sweet memories. In fact, earlier this year, in February 2021, our ambassador had organized the farewell of Anant Saab in the same venue. And, and little did we know that it was just not a farewell from Kuwait, but from our lives itself. Our family association with Anant Saab goes back about 4 decades, especially with my father, Mr. Kuldeep Singh Lamba, and personally with me and my wife for almost 20 years. His compassion to deliver whatever he undertook was outstanding and inspiring. In the years 2005 to 2010, my wife Raji and I organized a few Indian classical music events, and he was always there with us at the forefront, passionately guiding us, educating us with his organizational skills. His connect with the artist was magical. It seemed as if he was engaging with his soulmates. Being an artist himself, with his passion for singing, we ended up enjoying many of his singing moments at home. And his deep appreciation of all artists was tremendous. His delivery of the musical events was always par excellence. His presence of mind and intelligence during our many, many conversations was simply brilliant. You know, his ideas, his thoughts, always clear and focused. His humbleness was simply endearing. It was never a dull moment with Anant Saab. You know, he used to share occasionally some of his business dealings, and it was amazing how his clients looked up to him, which is not surprising. We all looked up to him. I used to mention to Anant Sahab, Anant Sahab, you're like a AK-47, the initials being his name, that you address so many things at one time, firing away instructions, guidance, your experiences with plenty of philosophy. It was amazing. Each one of us at home cherished our conversation with Anand Sahab. For Aji and me, he was like a father figure, always learning from him, like we learned from our parents all our lives. Just a few days ago, we spoke with Induji, and she conveys her sincere gratefulness to all of you for gathering here today, from herself and the children. Anand Sahab, we loved you when you were with us, and we will continue to love you even after you are gone. The memories you leave behind for us are a beacon of light to cherish, to remember, to follow your footsteps. You have and you will continue to inspire us. May your soul rest in peace, Anand Sahab, and you will always be around us in spirit. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you. Well, our next speaker is someone who is regarded as the king of retail in the Middle East. It is a great honor that he has taken time out of his busy schedule to pay his condolence to Mr. Kapadiya. Mr. Yusuf Ali is the chairman of Lulu Group, vice chairman of Abu Dhabi Chamber of Commerce, and governing council member of IBPC Dubai. If I recall correctly, one of the last events that Mr. Kapadiya organized for IBPC featured Mr. Yusuf Ali, and therefore his presence in this condolence meeting lends an added poignancy. Mr. Yusuf Ali's speech will be followed by a short video on Mr. Kapadiya's life and contributions.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of God, the most merciful, the most beneficent. Excellency C.B. George, embassy officials, my friend Solly Matthew, other distinguished guests, including Abraham, office bearers and members of IBPC Kuwait, friends and my brothers and sisters. It was with heavy heart that I came to know about the sad demise of my dear brother, Sri Anant Kapadiya ji, who was a prominent Indian community member and a former chairman of IBPC Kuwait. I have called Madam Kapadiya in Canada, where they are currently living, to convey my personal condolences. Let me also take this opportunity to convey my heartfelt condolences to all Indian community members in Kuwait, and on this very sad occasion. This is indeed a great loss for all of us. Sri Anant Kapadiya ji was not only a successful businessman among the Indian community members in Kuwait, but also a great personality, a great human being who lived a meaningful and satisfying and memorable life in this country. I remember the webinar IBPC organized this year under Kapadiya ji, which I attended along with Excellency our Ambassador. As the chairman of IBPC Kuwait, Kapadiya ji has played a significant role in strengthening the relationship between India and Kuwait. I also remember his love and affection towards me whenever we met, and he used to appreciate and encourage me for the works that I am doing in Kuwait. Kapadiya ji was also a man with compassionate heart. His great role extending timely help to those in distress even during the COVID-19 pandemic situation is known to all of us. We will always remember Kapadiya ji as a great human being who always cared for the welfare of others. On this occasion, I once again convey my heartfelt condolences. I also sincerely pray Almighty Allah grant peace to the noble departed soul and give strength and courage to the family members, friends, and associates to bear this great loss. Thank you, and Assalamu Alaikum.
It was with the idea of developing closer relationship between businesses and trade of Kuwaiti businessmen and Indian businessmen in Kuwait. And it is under the patronage of the Ambassador of India, and it's a non-commercial organization. It's an association where leading Indian businessmen in Kuwait, senior executives of companies, administrators, human resource people, they're all members. And the basic aim and objective is to bring both the countries together in the field of business, trade, investments, and culture.
I would now like to welcome Mr. Osama Al-Balhan from Dar al-Athar al-Islamiyya. Please, Mr. Osama, join us on the stage here. Dar al-Athar al-Islamiyya, or DAR, is a pioneering cultural organization that aims at bridging cultures and building bridges of understanding. Mr. Osama, please come here on stage. Thank you so much. Through education, culture, and knowledge. And Mr. Kapadiya played a very major role in delivering some amazing concerts at the DAR in collaboration with the organization, and shows that Kuwait will remember for a very long time. Mr. Osama.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أعزي السفارة الهندية وأعزي أخوتي في مركز التجارة الهندي بفقدان أخي وصديقي، ويعجز لساني لأصفه لأنه كان أكثر من الأخ. كان حريص على خلينا نتكلم بالعامية أكثر، حريص أن مشاركة مركز التجارة الهندي في جميع الأنشطة، سواء كانت أنشطة ثقافية أو موسيقية، وكان حريصا كل الحرص على هذا، على توثيق العلاقات الثقافية ما بين مركز التجارة، ما بين السفارة الهندية، وما بين المجلس الوطني ودار الآثار الإسلامية بصفة خاصة. عملت معه سنوات عديدة. كان طيب الخلق، دائما شغوف، محب للفن ونشر الثقافة الهندية، وهذا ويعجز لساني لأصفه. أشكركم على استضافتي ومشاركتي في حفل التأبين مستر كباديا، أخي وصديقي. شكرا.
Thank you, Mr. Osama. May I now request Mr. K.G. Abraham, a senior IBPC member and partner and managing director of NBTC Group, the biggest construction company in Kuwait, to take the stage, please.
Good evening, our ambassador from India to Kuwait, Your Excellency C.B. George, Yusuf Ali, and friends of Anant Kapadiya. Good evening. We are here to convey our condolence to Mr. Anant Kapadiya's family. We convey our condolence to them. Anant and me, we know each other. We met each other in 1980s. When he was working in Budai, he was dealing with the heavy equipments in Canada Tri-Street. I met him there. We used to buy heavy equipments, loader and excavator, things like that. From there, until last year, we used to be very good friends. He used to pass by us, and I used to pass by his place, including his house for the dinner. He was a true person. He was a great person, but he acted as a very low profile and a small person. That was his greatness. He was advisor. Whenever we meet each other, he used to advise me how to do, how to deal. That was a great experience for me, and I benefited from him. That he never acted as a great. He was acting as a low profile, and he always loved to connect with India and Kuwait with arts and culture. Once, we have a program every year, 2 programs. Once I asked him, I want a great musician, but not by vocal. He connected me to Shashank, one of the best flutists. And, I remember that. And he connect with artists to everyone. With we used to have contact him when we need some advice and connection from the artists from India. He used to support us, and he's a big loss for all of us. I convey my hearty condolence to his family, and he will be living in our mind, with us all our life. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Abraham. Mr. Shivi Bhasin is the Managing Director of Bhasin and Company. He is also the former Chairman of IBPC, with whom Mr. Kapadiya shared a very long and warm friendship. Mr. Bhasin.
Thank you, Jazari. Ambassador C.B. George, ladies, gentlemen, Anant's family, and friends of Anant Kapadiya. Let me get my paper out. To me, Anant was a harbinger of Indian music and the voice of Mukesh in Kuwait. Lot has been written about Anant in the print media and in the social media, so I won't go into that. I have known Anant for a long time, and we worked for the community five years as members of the IBPC Executive Council, and I think 3 years on the board of Indian Community School of Kuwait. He was a great contributor to the community work. He was always ready, came forward, and contributed to the community work, whatever it was, physical, financial, or whatever. Every life, we have to learn something from him, from them when it goes, or when they are no more. For me, Anant told us that you must have a hobby. That principle he ensured by pursuing his hobby of music, which took him to great heights. He intermingled with great artists of India, the singing ones, the classical ones, pop ones, and whatever. So, he tells us that you must pursue a hobby, and pursue a hobby well, which he did with great enthusiasm. And look where he reached with that. He touched all of us just because of his hobby of music. The second thing I thought was his salesmanship. He was a very honest, convincing, and straightforward salesman. He was not one of those fly-by-night operators. If he was selling a crane to a Baluchi, this Baluchi crane operator, he was there selling crane to Mr. K.J. Ibrahim also. He sold with passion. Even in his music, if you look at it, he had the salesmanship so that he could sell his music to the musician and to his audience in Kuwait, just because he was honest in his approach. If you want to know how difficult it is to deal with Indian musicians or Indian artists, it's very cumbersome. But Anant seemed to do it with great jest and easy peasy look. And they seemed to enjoy it and always seemed to be by his side. Ambassador sir, I thank you for hosting this condolence meeting here and the earlier farewell meeting, which I did not attend. I have an incident to talk about the Indianness of IBPC and Anant, both. Not couple of years ago, I think 6, 7, or 8 years ago, there were elections to be held for the posts in IBPC. And Anant was one of the candidates for it. At that time, some of the people objected that Anant being a Canadian passport holder, should not be allowed to stand for election in IBPC elections, for candidature. At that time, IBPC had two wise men. One was late Sonny Matthews, Mr. M.M. Matthews, who was the elder of the IBPC, and then the chairman of IBPC, Mr. Tony Jasharmal, who both came out with the theory that IBPC is not just for Indian passport holders. It also includes OCI, PIO, and all other members who are of Indian origin. So we at IBPC were able to incorporate the Indian diaspora in its fold. And I'm very happy that you have reinforced whatever IBPC believed in, the Indianness of IBPC, of Indian Business Promotion Council. Thank you very much to the Indian Embassy and to you, sir. Lastly, me and my wife, late wife, we took great pleasure in attending all the shows that were organized by Anant. They were sleek, they started on time, they ended on time. There was no 100, delay in the program, no 100 people coming on the stage and posing for photographs and things like that. He conducted a very good, entertaining program whenever he set about to do it. So, I shall miss, like the whole community will miss Anant. And like I said earlier, we must take these two great qualities of Anant, at least I will, of keeping a hobby and of being an honest and convincing salesperson. My condolences to Indu and her family and to the whole community. God rest his soul in peace. Just before I go, why do we say may God rest his soul in peace? Is it that we doubt that it may not happen? So, Anant, rest in peace. God rest him in peace. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bhasin. Chairman of the Samara Group of Companies, Mr. S.K. Wadhawan, is a long-standing member of IBPC. I recall meeting him for the first time when he was chairman of IBPC. It was Mr. Kapadiya who had introduced us. Mr. Wadhawan and Mr. Kapadiya worked closely together to give IBPC, then IBC, a firm footing. Please, Mr. Wadhawan.
Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, the news of Anant Kapadiya's passing away came as a great shock to all of us, especially me. I have had the privilege of knowing him for decades, even before he was inducted into Indian Business Council 12 years ago. Anant was a gem. He touched the lives of everyone with whom he connected. As we all know, he was passionate about music and art. His love for community service, too, was not hidden. He was a successful business person. It is said that it is not length of life, but depth of life that matters For Anant, I would say it was both. On behalf of my family and my personal behalf, I would like to express my heartfelt condolences to Induji and their children. My thoughts and prayers are with you and your family during this difficult time. Om Shanti.
Thank you, sir. May I now invite Mr. Rajpal Tyagi, Managing Director and Partner of International Interiors, an architectural firm and a long-term member of IBPC.
Namaskar. Honorable Indian Ambassador to Kuwait, dignitaries, my dear friends. It's a very sad moment that we have gathered here today. We are all paying homage and condolence to Shri Anant Kapadiya ji. Anant Kapadiya ji, I happen to know since early 1980s. We knew each other as a co-professional. He was an engineer by profession. I'm an architect. We worked together for various community causes. Whether at that time it was Indian Business Council, we worked together. Later on, last year when community needed, it was ICSG, Indian Community Support Group, and all the members of Indian Community Support Group, along with IDF and IBPC, worked together, and Mr. Anant Kapadiya was representing IBPC. So we worked together always for a good community cause. Right from the beginning, our ambassador have spoken, and everybody have spoken, that he was a very big connect between India and Kuwait, cultural or professional. His connect with Indian businessmen, Indian business diaspora, and Kuwait diaspora was immense. It's unforgettable. He knew literally how to maintain a relationship. And my wife, our family knew Anant Kapadiya's family, so we had a good family relation. I will not forget, when we traveled together so many times for Pravasi Bharatiya Samman Award, whether it was Delhi or it was Bombay or it was Bangalore, and Anant Kapadiya ji and Shri Shivi Bhasin ji and Mr. Tony Jashanmal always used to be there. If I have to remember Anant ji, I will narrate one couplet of Sant Kabir. कबीर जी ने कहा था या कहा है, जो आज भी वैसे ही अलाइव है। कबीरा जब हम पैदा हुए, कबीरा जब हम पैदा हुए, जग हंसा हम रोए, ऐसी करनी कर चलो, हम हंसे और जग रोए। The real meaning is that when a child is born, child cries, but all the family members and the near dear, they are very happy that child is born. And when we leave from this world for the final destination, what is remembered? Remembered is our karma. We should leave those footsteps. We should leave those karma, or I would say our action, which will be remembered with fondness, with respect, with humbleness. And that's what Anant Kapadiya ji has left. There's another saying, जाने वाले कहीं नहीं जाते, जाने वाले की याद रह जाती है. So Anant Kapadiya ji is the one person who has left his footprints, and it will be engraved in our heart forever. I, in my personal capacity and on behalf of Indian Community Support Group, with a very saddened heart, pay tribute and homage and condolences to his wife, his bereaved family, and all his near dear and all the friends who have gathered here. Hari Om.
Mr. Ashok Kalra, Managing Director of Mughal Mahal Restaurant and Catering Services, is all about bridging cultures through food. A prominent member of IBPC, he had known Mr. Kapadiya for a long time. Mr. Kalra.
Thank you, Chitaliji. Well, I think much has been said about our friend Anant Kapadiya, but still, I'll just say a few things about him. Your Excellency, Shri C.B. George, Ambassador of India to Kuwait, distinguished guests, friends, and friends those who are attending virtually. Well, it's with deep sorrow that we heard of the sad demise of our beloved and dear friend Anantji. I personally knew that he had been hospitalized. Nevertheless, the suddenness of his demise left us shocked beyond belief. As my friends have earlier mentioned, I'll also say the same thing. Anantji was in many ways more than just a friend to all of us. He was a brother, he was a confident advisor, and most of all, a very fine human being. We will always miss his smile, his sincerity, and the warmth of welcome he always displayed. I have a message for Induji, that we do realize that only time will help narrow the deep void he left behind in your life and that of your children. And we pray God Almighty grants you and your family the strength and the resilience to see you are all through this period of deep bereavement. God bless his soul. Om Shanti.
Thank you, Mr. Kalra. All of us know that Mr. Kapadiya was a gifted singer. In fact, in this auditorium, there are many times that we've seen him break into a song. And he sang uncannily like the legendary Mukesh Kumar. So we will break for a song by Mr. Kapadiya, something that we are now going to miss.
ऐसे जीवन भी हैं जो जिए ही नहीं, जिनको जीने से पहले ही मौत आ गई। फूल ऐसे भी हैं जो खिले ही नहीं, जिनको खिलने से पहले फिजा खा गई। है परेशान नजर, थक गए चारा, कोई समझा नहीं, कोई जाना नहीं। जिंदगी का सफर है ये कैसा सफर, कोई समझा नहीं, कोई जाना नहीं।
Director and CFO of Gulf Consult, Mr. Kaiser Shakir, is a dear associate of Mr. Anant Kapadiya. Mr. Shakir is the treasurer of IBPC, and I would now like to request him to come to the stage, please.
Good evening, everyone. It is the same place where I stood 9 months ago, giving a farewell diction for Anantji. I did mention that parting is not easy. I did mention that you, Anantji, were embarking on a new phase in life. I did mention that your contribution to the society, the community, and the field of art and music. I did mention that I will not say thank you because I strongly believed that we will stay connected and I will fall back on you and your advice and valuable input. When I said you may physically be away from us, you will always remain virtually connected, I surely did mean that. A virtual connect in its mortal form. Least did I know that it would not even be a year that we will bid eternal adieu to you. On a very personal note, wherever you are, in whatever form you are, all I would like to say is that I cherish each and every moment knowing you, spending time with you, hearing your anecdotes from your childhood to date, and those deep conversations and warm relationship will always be treasured. Since this was a one-on-one, I leave it here for just the two of us. It is never easy to find words to express feelings when there are no words that can fully capture the depth of what I am feeling. Though I feel blessed and happy that I had him in my life. For the family, you have our deepest condolences as you grieve this passing. May God's mercy and blessings be upon you all in this difficult time. The void caused by Anantji's departure cannot be filled, but we know that his departure from this earth never truly left, for he is still alive in our hearts and minds, and through you all he lives on. My earnest commiseration to the family once again. And to end, I would like to recite a quote from Taittiriya Upanishads. From bliss, all beings emerge. In bliss, all beings are sustained. Into bliss, all beings merge. Om Shanti. Thank you.
May I now welcome Mr. Mohammed Merchant, Senior Member IBPC, to please come on stage. Mr. Merchant.
Good evening, Mr. Ambassador and friends. I express my heartfelt condolences on the sad demise of our dear friend Anant Kapadiya. I have many things to say about him and many moments and incidences to express. I will not indulge in those things, except for the fact that in 1990, we departed from Kuwait into Baghdad and Iran, and after that, I left him. I consider myself lucky to have been his friend. Anant means immortal, and he has always been Anant of Anand to Kuwait and the world. He devoted his life and stay in Kuwait, spreading Anand through his devotion to music. He has been a pivotal promoting Indian music and culture to the Kuwaitis and friends. My heartfelt condolences to Induji and family. May his soul rest in peace. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Mr. Solly Matthew, Deputy General Manager of Gulf Bank, is the Joint Secretary of IBPC. He had known Mr. Kapadiya for a long time and worked with him closely. Mr. Matthew?
Good evening, Excellency C.B. George, my dear friends. A life well lived. Anandji has not lived for 75 years. He lived over 100 years, looking at his accomplishments. While we mourn the loss of our friend, we pay tribute and celebrate a life that was well lived. Not many leave behind a legacy of such achievement and dedication. I had the opportunity to work with him in the IBPC Executive Committee over the last 5 years. Such a simple man, so committed to everything he does, whether it is our anniversary, promoting Indo-Kuwait economic relationships, bringing keynote speakers from India, cultural programs, providing support during the COVID times, Kerala flood. The list goes on and on. A great loss to IBPC, to the Indian community, and to all of us. He will be fondly remembered forever. This is a particularly difficult time for Indiji and his children. Extending my heartfelt condolences to the family and pray to God to give them courage and strength to bear the loss. Thank you.
KP Suresh, Program Coordinator of IBPC and Manager of Al Nazar Media Group, has been active on the cultural scene in Kuwait for a long time. He formed a close bond with Mr. Kapadiya because of his interest in art and culture. I'd like to welcome you to the stage, please.
Good evening, His Excellency C.B. George, and distinguished guests. I feel Anandji was surrounded by ample love from all of us. Today we listen everybody's love and affection. We had a long conversation about life, dreams, relations, cultural programs, business events. Last 26 years, we were in touch daily basis, talking about, always he talk about, what we can do for India-Kuwait relation, how we can establish a friendly relation between Kuwaitis and Indians. So slowly he's injecting in me the thread what he wanted me to be, which is really reflected me apart from my job, business, my area of business is into media. He tried to convert me wherever I go. He also used to come to meet our media partners. So he tried to find a way how we can build wherever, whatever the connections can be built together. We believe in that context that two countries need to have a fruitful, good relationship. Then it will be a successful only through connecting Indian culture and traditional relationships. He always put effort to organize events and shows with Indian culture and tradition. The main intention behind these to portray how others will look at us. So that was really impressed my own journey in this art and culture world in Kuwait. And she has, even though as he's gone from this world, we always cherish his memory, more potent, more present than any living man. My prayers and thoughts are always with Induji and other family members during in this difficult time. May his soul rest in peace. Jai Hind. Thank you.
Ajay Kumar, Indu's brother, and Mr. Kapadiya's brother-in-law is here with us. May I request you to come on stage, please?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Ambassador, Excellencies, CB George, IBPC Chairman, and all members, thank you very much for conducting this event. On behalf of Indu, the children Akshada, Amit, and Michiko, thank you for your prayers during a time Anant's loss. It has meant much to our family. Thank you all for expressing your sympathy during these difficult times. As Chaitali Rao has said, Anant's journey of an impresario, which is the right word. Thank you very much for all this.
The rest of the program will feature messages from members of the Indian community in Kuwait who had known Mr. Kapadiya for a long time and was a part of his, very important part of his journey in this country.
Dear friends, although it is still sad days when we were shocked to hear the sudden passing away of our dear friend Anant Kapadiya, we are here to celebrate his past and the everlasting friendship that we will always have with him. Anant came to Kuwait as a young, active salesman with a very reputed company, did very well in his work, but for most of us, of course, he will be remembered for his ability to entertain us and show us the extent of his knowledge of the Indian music and culture. In his years, Anant impressed many people, including a lot of Kuwaitis, who, through their old days in India, remembered
their nostalgic days by coming to his well-organized programs. Anant was also a member and contributor to Dar al-Athar Islamiyya, led by Sheikh Hassa Sabah Saum Sabah. And this took the message further and the entertainment further to a lot of younger Kuwaitis and a lot of other nationalities residing in Kuwait. We will always remember him. We finally got him introduced into the IBPC, and after his coming on to the board of IBPC, which he was till he left from Kuwait, he could be and will be termed as the cultural ambassador of India in Kuwait. God bless him, God bless his family, and we will miss him and his entertainment for a long time to come.
It was really a shocking news for me when I came to know that Anand Bhai is no more, and he was such a nice person, and I knew him for more than almost 40 years now. I have known him, and he used to come to my office, sit with me, discuss with me so many topics on so many points, and give me so many suggestions. He was really an intelligent man, and I don't have any more word to say about him, but he was really good. But at the same time, when he started working with Budais, after that he started these cultural programs and musical evenings, and he brought the top singers of India, Lata Mangeshkar ji, Mukesh ji, and Kishore ji, and so many others, and also nice speakers. And really, he did a lot of good work for the community, which is rememberable for everyone, whosoever is there, all his friends. Anyhow, I don't have anything more to say, but I pray to God that Almighty, He should give him peace, and his family. I try to console his family, but it's a big loss for everybody. Anyhow, thank you very much.
Indu Bhabiji, I would like to express my deepest sympathies to you and your family on the sudden demise of Anand Bhai. He would light us all up with positivity. I find myself extremely fortunate to have known him and to have shared some beautiful memories. It was truly an honor. Please accept our deepest condolences to you and your family.
Extremely sorry on passing away of our friend Anant Kapadiya. I'm honored and blessed to have known Anant for over a decade. In the last 5 years, I worked very closely with him at IBPC, Kuwait. He never failed to make us smile. Be it the music concerts, running of IBPC, distribution and arrangement of food relief last year, and of general well-being of the community, he always gave his 100%. My sincerest thoughts goes out to Indira, Akshita, Mriga and Amit. Please accept my deepest condolence.
Namaskar, good evening, Salam Alaikum. We are deeply saddened by the demise of Shri Anant Kapadiya ji. Shri Anand ji, the former President of Indian Business and Professional Council, was a very important member of the Indian community here in Kuwait. A very successful engineer and a businessman, but most importantly, a very good social worker. I had the privilege of working alongside him during the early days of COVID as a member of the Indian Community Support Group. In this, we were able to reach out food to the needy and medical oxygen supplies to India. A very simple person, ever smiling, ever helpful. We will miss him. He was a gifted singer. He was known as Mukesh of Kuwait. His soulful voice was enjoyed by all of us. We will definitely miss him. On behalf of the Indian Doctors Forum, I express my deepest condolences to the family of Shri Anant Kapadiya ji.
A very, very humble person. If I have to speak about Kapadiya Sahib, it will not be easy. We met in a lot of our association meetings, but became very close friends as we both had a single passion, music. I could understand his love for music. And his love for music is far beyond what you can understand. He used to sing very well. His voice was very close to Mukesh ji's voice. I wouldn't be wrong if I would say that he was the one who brought Indian music to Kuwait. He is linked to all the visits of legendary singers of India to Kuwait. Until recent past, he was the one who kept the light of Indian classical music in Kuwait burning. A thorough gentleman, a very humble person. As chairman of IBPC, I have seen him working for the community and always ready to do whatever the community demands of him. He will surely be missed by all of us Indians in Kuwait for quite some time. My condolences to his family, his relatives, and I pray to God that may his soul rest in peace.
Mr. Anant was the most friendliest, likable and supporting person you will ever meet. He has been an inspiration to many of us through his selfless dedication towards the growth of Indian community over the past 5 decades. I feel blessed and fortunate to know him.
With profound sorrow, feeling so very, very sad to hear the sad demise of my dearest gem of a soul, more than a friend, like a brother, Anant Kapadiya ji in Toronto, very, very kind-hearted, with helping hand. My sincere condolences to his wife and 3 children. I pray Almighty to give strength to overcome their sorrow and bear this heavy loss. We all are going to miss you, Anantji. You will remain in our heart always. God bless the departed soul. Rest in peace.
Dear friends, we are still under the disturbed mental effect of the most shocking and sad news of dear Anant's passing. Losing a friend like Anant will create a huge deficit in the life of everyone who knew him as a friend. Anant's popularity could be gauged from the fact that some years ago, when he contested for the post of vice chairman of IBPC, we all, including he himself, were surprised by the margin of his victory. Sure enough, some of the very few who opposed him at the time are now singing his praise for his contributions to the council and the Indian community at large in Kuwait. I have lost a contact with whom could always share my wicked sense of humor without fear of retribution. We used to have hearty laughs, cracking jokes at times on our own follies and what goes on around us in the world. Anant was an accomplished personality in every sense of the word. Our prayers to God Almighty to rest the departed noble soul in peace and grant moksha to his Atma. Also to his beloved wife Induji and rest of the family, the strength to bear this irreparable loss. Om Shanti Om. Namaskar.
When I bid farewell to Mr. Anant Kapadiya, I didn't know that I will not see him after that. He has gone, but his imprints, his works will always stay in our hearts and minds. He was down-to-earth person and lived for others. He was cultural ambassador of India to Kuwait, brought so many artists and conducted so many programs for the Indian community in Kuwait. I wish and pray that his soul may rest in peace. Thank you.
It was sad news for me when I came to know the demise of Anant Kapadiya. Indian community
has lost a talented, dynamic gem of person. I would like to say that Anant Kapadiya was a man who had proven to balance the dimension of education, businesses, social life, and cultural activities. Serving as the chairman of Indian Business Council itself is a proof of talents, capabilities, and dedication. He is known for his character, humble nature, and for being a man of vision. He had graduated from one of the best universities in India, Osman University in Hyderabad, as a mechanical engineer. One of his remarkable contributions in establishing and serving as the founder president of Hyderabad Rotary Club, which was a unique concept, as very few such clubs existed for the like-minded people to socialize. He was a successful businessman in construction and heavy equipment field. Anant added a vibrant touch to the Indian culture lovers by introducing series of musical concerts, noted Indian singers, FEMA executive members, associations and members extend their heartfelt condolence and pay tribute to Anand's personality. Jai Hind.
He was a great personality and had high connections in Kuwait, especially in business community. We lost a good human being, friend, a guide, a initiator, connector, and many more. Mr. Kapadiya's contribution never be forgotten. Also, he was very instrumental in boosting India's image by bonding and promoting Indian music and cultural talent in Kuwait. We Kerala Art Lovers Association Kala Kuwait extend our deepest condolences to Mr. Kapadiya's family.
It is very hard to believe the sudden demise of one of the stalwarts of Indian diaspora here in Kuwait for a long time, late Mr. Anant Kapadiya. He had left a legacy behind him. He was a perfect example of a complete man who had balanced his life through his personal, family, professional and social life. No one can forget his contribution to the Indian community during the COVID pandemic. He was the backbone of many of the associations like ICSG, IBPC, and to most of us, to many of us, he was the cultural ambassador, a good singer, a very good humanitarian. Kuwait will definitely miss you, sir. On behalf of Bharati Pravasi Parishad, we express our deepest, heartfelt condolences.
Shri Anant Kapadiya ji was a very important personality in the Indian community in Kuwait, very, very important social figure, and played a major role over there to promote business in between India and Kuwait. Also, he was a board of trustees members of Indian Community School in Kuwait. But what makes him stand out is his love for music. He was an excellent artist and singer. He used to sing late Mukeshji's song so much like Mukesh ji. In fact, we could call him Kuwait's Mukesh ji. His role during the pandemic time is really appreciated. On behalf of KKMA, Kuwait Kerala Muslim Association, I would like to express my deepest condolence to Anant Kapadiya ji's family. God bless us all.
We were deeply distressed on hearing the sad demise of Kapadiya ji, a philanthropist and a dependable friend. His noble services to the community will ever be remembered. Kapadiya ji, you are always in our thoughts and prayers. May his soul rest in peace. Thank you.
We are deep shocked to hear sudden demise of Anant Kapadiya ji. Heartfelt prayers to departed soul. Deep condolences to family members. As far as Indian music lovers are concerned, we never forget you as long as we are in Kuwait.
Tribute to Sri Anant Kapadiya ji. 4 decades of his philanthropist effort will remember forever. Not only in doing business, but in doing charity. He did wonderful job. I do remember during the pandemic in Kuwait, for our Indian community, in coordination with Indian Community Services and in coordination with the Embassy of India, he did wonderful job. He helped financially And morally, he was with us in forefront in doing such help for our community. Now he is not with us. May God Almighty keep his soul in paradise. I express my sincere condolence on behalf of Kuwait KMCC.
If you're an old-timer in Kuwait, you ought to know Kapadiya. He has been the face for the Indian expats. He was the forefront of all the cultural events and of course the social activities also. He has been always everywhere. Whenever we needed him, he's there. And this news is a real shocker. On behalf of NAFO, I like to extend our sincere, deep condolence to his family, because not having a strong personality like him is not easy. So let's all join together in prayer to see that his family overcome this irreplaceable loss.
Namaste. On behalf of Amma Kuwait, I express our sincere sorrow and condolences to the family of late Sri Anant Kapadiya. Sri Kapadiya will be remembered forever by the Indian diaspora in Kuwait for his commitment to the society, his philanthropic activities, and above all, as a fine human being. May his soul rest in peace. Om Shanti.
Well, personally, this evening has been very difficult for me. Mr. Kapadiya touched my life in many ways, and I shall cherish those memories. But now I have to go back to the business of making my closing remarks. For over 45 years, Mr. Kapadiya enriched Kuwait's cultural tapestry by curating and presenting some of the finest talents that India has produced in recent memory. He achieved the almost impossible, organizing live shows at a time when there was no concept of live shows in Kuwait. His audience then, and even recently, were made up of Indians, Arabs, and Westerners. They were always, as Mr. Bhasin rightly said, assured of class and quality when he was involved. It's no wonder he's regarded as Kuwait's leading impresario. What also unfailingly impressed me is the respect and affection that these world-renowned artists had for him. It wasn't easy to do what he did, and I've said this earlier, but his absolute belief in the soft power of Indian music and fine arts and its role in bringing the world together kept him going. Our condolence program today helps show the love and affection that people here have for him. My sincerest condolences to Indu and the family. It's a pain that they have to come to terms with. May he rest in peace, and may his legacy in Kuwait be carried forward. Thank you.
चल के तुझे मैं लेके चलूं एक ऐसे गगन के तले जहाँ गम भी न हो आंसू भी न हो बस प्यार ही प्यार पले आ चल के तुझे मैं लेके चलूं एक ऐसे गगन के तले जहाँ गम भी न हो आंसू भी न हो बस प्यार ही प्यार पले एक ऐसे गगन के तले सूरज की पहली किरण से आशा का सवेरा जागे सूरज की पहली किरण से आशा का सवेरा जागे चंद